If I had had metabolic balance back then, I could have, like, in 3 to 6 months, gotten rid of all of those symptoms that I struggled with for those years and gotten my practice going quicker, helped more people. I could have been in such a different place, but I'm on this trajectory now, and I'm so very thankful, and I'm so confident that metabolic balance, the personalized nutrition based on the blood work, is so foundational that it's a core part of my 6-month program. And every single person who is qualified to do it, unless you have serious issues with your kidneys or liver or whatever, I think everybody should do it.
Hello and welcome to the Metabolic Balance Stories podcast. This is where we share real stories and insights into personalized nutrition and metabolic balance. I am very delighted today to welcome a practitioner from Canada. Kari Hochachka reached out to me, and it was just so lovely to hear from her. And she's now joined me on the podcast, and we're just going to hear about how metabolic balance is in Canada and her experiences over there. Because it's so wonderful about metabolic balance that it is has global reach, and we are helping people all over the world. So, hello, Kari.
Hello, Cherry. Thank you so much for having me on.
It's wonderful to have you here. I think really I just want to start off with just tell us a little bit about your background and what brought you to metabolic balance. How did you hear about it? You go.
So at the age of 48, I decided to go back to school and completely transform my career, redo career again. I entered holistic nutrition school and I joined. So this is really particular. I'm going to back up a little bit. Earlier that year, I was in a job that I hated. I'm trained as a cabinet maker, and I was working in a cabinet shop, and it was killing me. It was a terrible environment. It was super hard on my body, and I just was not happy. So as the internet works and the algorithms work, one day on my phone, something popped up and it said something about a health coach or holistic coach or something like that. And I'm like, wait, what is this? And I looked at the description and my eyes just lit up and I was like, what is this thing? This is like, it talks about me exactly. That's exactly my heart. And so I started digging into it, found out it was training from the United States, and it was all online, and it was in American funds, and the Canadian dollar is not great with the US dollar, and I don't do well learning online. And I wasn't sure it was legit because it was an online thing. And so I ended up looking for a school that was in my local area that taught nutrition from a holistic perspective. And I found CSNN. So that fall, I started in class and I was doing really well in class. And then, so this was like end of August. And then fast forward to March of 2020, I was more than halfway through my school, and then COVID hit and we all went online, and I found out that I was like in the middle of late stage perimenopause. My brain fog by that time was just severe, and I had to do all the learning online and courses and everything. So I went into school, and this is important, doing really well with my health, which had been a train wreck years prior. And when I left school, like when I graduated, my health was a bit of a mess again, and I wasn't able to start up my practice for a couple of years after that. So I had been in connection with the Alumni Association from my school, and they were sending emails, and they'd regularly send emails about metabolic balance. And I looked at it and I'm like, it's a weight loss program. I'm not a weight loss coach. I have no interest in doing weight loss or whatever. So I just kind of ignored it every time that email came through every few months. And then eventually I started working with clients. About 2 years after I had graduated, I started taking on clients. And I found out pretty quickly that all of the women who were working with me wanted to lose weight. And I'm like, what? But by that point, I also had gained a bunch of weight because of all the stress that I was under and late stage perimenopause, and my waist was growing and my brain fog, and I was having hot flashes and night sweats and like, you name it, joint pain. My sleep had always been terrible. Like I was really struggling, and I kind of had a bit of that imposter syndrome. Here I am trying to help my clients get healthier, and yet I'm doing all the things I think I should be doing, and I'm really struggling, and I'm overweight, and nobody knew it because I was hiding it really well, even though I could tell. So next time Metabolic Balance came across the email, I was like, just going to look into this a little bit more, because maybe just for me and maybe for my clients. And longer story shorter, I decided that when I did some research into it and I found out that it wasn't just a diet. And another quick point is my history and that of most of my clients is chronic stress. So when you're trying to implement something that's very, very strict nutrition plan, it can increase the stress levels. And so I thought, I don't want to do a strict diet. My clients don't want to do a strict diet. So that was another reason why I had kind of poo-pooed it. And then when I really started digging into it, and I was like, oh, this is based on blood work. Like you can actually do blood work and get a personalized nutrition plan, and it's the foods that your body actually needs. And they're like, I just kind of went, whoa, this is interesting. So kept on digging. I went to our alumni conference, and Claudia was there from Metabolic Balance Canada, and I grilled her with a bunch of questions, and she answered them all very, politely and patiently. And then I went home. I'm like, okay, I'm in. I did it for myself and for my clients.
Cool. I think it's really interesting, a couple of points that you said there as well, though. I mean, first of all, studying, it's this irony of studying. I remember when I did my nutrition degree, I made myself quite sick with it too, because the studying is really kind of overwhelming. It's so wonderful. You're learning amazing stuff. But then the pressure and the stress of doing it can actually get quite sick. And it's where, again, where we have to look after ourselves first. And it's the other thing that I thought was quite interesting is that weight loss is such an important aspect of holistic health in our world today. It is the ubiquitous that it's something that so many people are struggling with. And yet actually we think it's not what we want to work with as practitioners, but you realize that actually it's one of the best things to do for people is to help them to release that unnecessary weight and get well.
And as I went through my training with Metabolic Balance, I began understanding the relationship between blood sugar and insulin and cortisol. And even though I'm sure we must have learned that in school, like it probably didn't register for me because I had never had weight problems prior to this. And I just don't remember digging into it as much as Metabolic Balance does. But the realization too that the weight gain is simply a symptom of the metabolic chaos that's going on in your body. And so when you balance everything out, which is the beauty of metabolic balance, you balance everything out and then the weight just kind of takes care of itself.
Beautiful way of putting it. I'm sorry, that's great. I love that. It is that chaos. And yeah, it's that excess weight is just a symptom, but it's a symptom that kind of overwhelms people. And it's so lovely when it just naturally just clears itself. So you had this beautiful experience now with your own health. Can you just maybe talk a little bit more about how it impacted you? Because I think as a menopause, so many women do struggle with this. So, how did you experience the changes?
So for me, I never had an issue with my weight prior to nutrition school. And it wasn't that I was gaining weight while I was in nutrition school. It was afterwards when all the stress sort of started mounting up, and there was all the strain with COVID, and I had moved to go to school. Then I moved again at the end of school. So like within 2 years, I had moved 3 times. Moving is stressful. And plus the workload of school, and then the whole fiasco with relationships. And so my stress was so much. And then being at end stage perimenopause in the middle of that was just like the cherry on top of the cake, or whatever you want to call it, the straw that broke the camel's back, whatever the appropriate analogy is. And so for me, one of the moves that I made was a very unhealthy place for me to be. And I wasn't able also at that time to cook healthy food. I didn't have access to the kitchen appropriately. I was eating a lot of things that were not beneficial for me. And so I know that that contributed. And then there was the stress of everything. And so for me, I was having like serious night sweats, hot flashes all day long. My joint pain was immense. I had never had that kind of joint pain. I remember going for walks, and when I was walking up the hill, my knees just sounded like Rice Krispies crackling in their joints, And then I remember one day standing in the bathroom and I'm like feeling on my waist and I'm like, this is interesting. Like, is this just something that happens as you get older? Like, what is going on here? Well, it was fat. It was fat surrounding me, and my body shape was changing. And the next 2 and a bit years, I gained about 25 pounds. So when I went on Metabolic Balance, I had already been trying a bunch of things. I had gone back to a naturopathic doctor. He had given me supplements to help support my adrenals, my thyroid, said, stop eating gluten, stop eating dairy, do this, do that. And so I thought that I was doing all the things. And after my last move, I was eating healthy and still struggling, couldn't sleep. So when I started Metabolic Balance, I was 157 pounds, which was over 20 pounds overweight. And prior to that, in the year that I had been working on my health prior to starting Metabolic Balance, I had tried a little bit of keto, low carb diet. I had done 2 anti-candida diets, lost some weight, and then I gained it back, and then I lost it, and then I gained it back again. And Metabolic Balance was the key for me because when I started it, when I weighed myself after the second day of phase 1, the 2-day cleanse phase, I had dropped 2.5 pounds in 2 days. By the end of the first week, I had lost 5 pounds. And then by the end of the phase 2 strict, which is 16 days, I was down 8 pounds, which is 3.63 kilograms. Every time I looked at the scale, I was like, how is this happening?
The way I look at it, your body was desperate to just be well. And I always often say that as soon as somebody really gives their body the right food, it's like it freezes the opportunity to just rebalance and release as needed. And that's what you gave yourself at that point.
And we know that the beginning is usually, water weight or inflammation weight or whatever.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah.
When it continued consistently over time, I was just like mind blown. And in about 10 weeks, I was down to my initial goal weight, which was I went from 157 to 140 pounds. So I lost, that was 10 weeks and I was down to 140. So 17 pounds in 10 weeks. And then by a year later, like when I took my weight the same day that I started Metabolic Balance, a year later, I was down 22.4 pounds, which is like 10 kilograms. And I've been able to maintain that. So it's been 2 years since I started, over 2 years since I hit that goal. And I'm less than that now. Like I'm consistently around 136, 137.
Which is where you naturally want to be.
Right. And before I gained the weight, like I was consistently around 135 pounds. Like, I mean, I never had gone over 142 ever in my life. So this was like, I know this is my normal. But also I don't have hot flashes anymore. And one of the things that blew me away was my joint pain disappeared. The headaches that I was having disappeared. I had insomnia or like not waking up throughout the night consistently, never sleeping well. Like I could have said less than 5 times in my adult life that I had a solid sleep and didn't remember waking up in the middle of the night. Always had trouble sleeping. Since Metabolic Balance, brain fog disappeared. I sleep better than I've ever slept in my whole adult life. I have more energy than I've had in probably 15 years. Like it just, I mean, when I look at it, I just go, how did this happen? But I understand how it happened. And so when I'm helping my clients, I'm like, look, this is what's going on and this is what's going to happen to you. And here's why.
Yeah. And I think, I mean, again, let's talk about some of your clients now. So you've used Metabolic Balance now in your clinic. Have you got some particular clients' stories that you could share, the experiences you've seen?
I've listened to a lot of the podcasts and I don't have like some crazy stories like some of the other practitioners have, but I can tell you a few things. One is that several of my clients, like probably a good 4 or 5 clients, have gone on holidays or vacation while they're on Metabolic Balance. And I coach them really well before they go. Every single one of them has come back and either maintained their weight or lost weight while they were on holidays. I have a couple of texts I can read you here, just like 3 of them. So the first one was from the very first Metabolic Balance client I ever had. And shortly after she started, she said, I've noticed that my mood has been really stable the last couple of days and I'm already losing weight. That's encouraging. A more recent client who she was like, both of these ladies are like my ideal. You tell them what to do, they do it, they have amazing results. This one lady, she messaged me and she said, I feel like I love my body again and feel much more comfortable in it. I just about died when I read that because that's exactly what you want to hear, right? Because when you're overweight and you're bloated and you just don't feel like yourself anymore. So then this was the follow up to that. She says, I quite like looking at myself naked again.
Oh, isn't that just lovely?
Who says that?
Exactly. I think this is the thing that so often happens as women get into their 40s, 50s, 60s. I think with the stress of everything and perimenopause hitting, it's a real danger that you can kind of lose yourself or lose who you feel you are. You don't feel like you anymore. And that slow weight creep that the research says this. The research says there's going to be 1.5 kilos of weight gain every year for perimenopause as just this weight creep, and it normalizes it. And so, like you can get to the point where you've put on 10 kilos. So I talk in kilos. I know you talk in pounds. So we're talking a little bit different units here. But it's that you just don't feel like you again anymore. And that's one of the things I love when you have somebody who just says, tell me what to do and let me actually just experience and reset my body. And that's what MB does. It's that reset back to where we kind of our bodies naturally should be. That's what kind of you experience as well, isn't it?
What blew me away was that I had no idea how much inflammation was in my body and the relationship between cortisol and blood sugar and insulin. We know it, but we don't realize until we learn it how much that affects everything. I talk inflammation all the time. I'm like a broken record. Cortisol, blood sugar, insulin, inflammation, like again and again and again. But going back to what you were asking about results that my clients have experienced, I wrote a bunch of them down. All right. So, like I said, feeling good in their bodies again, fitting into their favorite clothes again. And by the way, I'm wearing the jeans that I couldn't wear. Like right now, I'm wearing the jeans that I couldn't wear for 2 years until Metabolic Balance because I was just like, that's my goal. I'm going to fit in those jeans again.
Yep.
Okay, so they also get increased understanding about food because you're teaching them what food does in their body. So they're making healthier choices. They have increased confidence in the kitchen because they know what to eat and how to simply prepare it. It doesn't have to be complicated. They have confidence once you teach them the 4 phases. They know exactly how to get back on track if they go on a holiday or if they, gain a few pounds or whatever, they just get back on their plan, begin following the 8 rules, or sometimes they do a little mini reset. I mentioned the holidays, maintaining their weight on holidays or losing weight on holidays, improved digestion and bowel function. Like we know how many women come into us and they're constipated, and just being able to, number one, understand that you need to have a bowel movement every day. And number two, being able to do that without pain just because you're changing your food and hydration. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Reduce pain and inflammation, less headaches and migraines, improved or regulated menstrual cycles, reduced or eliminated hot flashes, like in my case, increased energy, better sleep, fuller, shinier hair was what one of my clients said. She was like, my hair is so amazing now. It was wonderful. And then and obviously, getting down to a healthy weight and being able to maintain it.
Yeah. The maintaining it, isn't that the important thing though? And it's the knowledge of how to then look after yourself. There's a whole horrible history of dieting in our world. And it's not a diet. This is a reset, learn to eat, how to nourish your body, and then look after your body and love your body moving forward.
Yeah. And I've heard so many of the guests on your podcast talk about teaching your clients that this isn't a diet, this is a lifestyle change. And I remember you talking about that. That was one of the things that when I first heard you speaking, I was like, oh, yeah, it's totally a lifestyle thing. Like, you can't just be on a diet and then lose the weight and then gain it all back. Like, it has to be. And sometimes we have to remind ourselves, because for me it is a lifestyle, and so I have to teach my clients, every single one of them. That's another thing I'm drilling them on. Like, if your only goal is to get down to a certain number, you're going to gain it all back again. Like, you have to make this a lifestyle change. You have to understand why you're doing it, teach it to your family so that your family can be healthier, so that everybody's supporting each other. And yeah.
Yeah. And that is, it's that looking forward to the future. I often like to talk about, where do you want to see yourself and your health maybe in 2 years' time, 3 years' time, 5 years' time, 10 years' time, because that is the trajectory that we're all going on. We're all sort of slowly every day walking towards hopefully a healthy and nourishing and fulfilling decades ahead. We want to have a lovely life. But actually, if you sit in a real place of honesty, sometimes you people do recognize that their potential 50s, 60s, 70s, or 80s is not going to be that pleasant. And what you do now and the decisions you make now will direct where you kind of do end up. And it's not that we have to deprive ourselves now of anything. It's actually even a gift. We give ourselves what we need so that we can live the best life at any point in time. You still always want to stay in the here and now, but you want to make sure your direction is the right place to go.
Yeah. I went on a walk this afternoon, and I was thinking about, I don't know why it never really occurred to me, but I thought, what if I had known about metabolic balance when I graduated from nutrition school? And I mean, that was only 2.5 years before I found metabolic balance, but it could have saved me so much time and energy and effort and money. I mean, all the money that I spent on supplements, and the literally the money that I lost because of those 2 years when I couldn't get my practice started because I was not well. If I had had metabolic balance back then, I could have, like, in 3 to 6 months, gotten rid of all of those symptoms that I struggled with for those years, and gotten my practice going quicker, helped more people. I could have been in such a different place, but I'm on this trajectory now, and I'm so very thankful. And I'm so confident that metabolic balance, the personalized nutrition based on the blood work, is so foundational that it's a core part of my 6-month program. And every single person who is qualified to do it, unless you have serious issues with your kidneys or liver or whatever, I think everybody should do it, really.
It's a reset for the body. Sometimes we do say yes to things when we're ready to do so. And it's always it's so easy to go back and say, what if? But I would say, it was probably the journey that you needed to go on in some kind of way. You're in a place as well that you really understand what clients are going through. And I think that's where the practitioner is so key. We understand, we see people where they're at, and there's no judgment on any of it. We know the struggle. I think it was all part of what needed to happen. And there are times where I've talked to people and talked to practitioners. I talk to a lot of practitioners who are interested in metabolic balance, and I wish they would say yes earlier. I mean, I actually remember when I first heard about metabolic balance back in 2012. I think I took half an hour to say yes. I was like, oh, yes, I've got to do that. I don't know, something was just telling me I have to do that. And I actually had an argument with my husband about it, because he was like going, you don't need to bring in, you've just had all of this training. And I'm like, no, I need this. And he was like, oh, going to spend the money on the training and everything. And I was like, no, I need this. And I did it. I was like, no, I'm doing this. And so sometimes you do need that. And, the clients that do jump for it, but actually we know that people come to it in the right time. And so often clients do come back going, that program you were telling me about, I actually am ready to do that now. I do need to do that now.
I totally believe that God's timing is perfect. And that he sovereignly orchestrates all the events of our lives. So, like you said, I needed to experience that myself, and so that I could have that empathy and understanding of what my clients are going through. And I'm really thankful that I did, because I wouldn't have been able to relate, or, truly, I think, a woman in her 20s, I don't think that's the best person to be working with women who are in menopause, focusing on menopause, because they don't understand it. I think it's so much better for someone who's been through it, whatever the situation is, that because we can empathize, we can go, okay, when I was in that, then I did this and this helped. And I know that this can help you. And I mean, everybody's different. So not everything that worked for me is going to work for everybody else. But you have that deeper understanding. And I mean, I've worked with some guys, some men, and I don't get them. It's so
With men, I find that they are often like, yeah, just tell me what to do. Yeah, jump, 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 jump. They actually, yeah, they work really well. I think this is coming back to finding the practitioner. And that's why we have so many wonderful practitioners. There are many practitioners who can offer a metabolic balance. And it is finding that right practitioner for you that really can bring out the best results for you.
yeah, I really appreciate that there's an international directory so that anybody can go on there. And if you want to work with somebody in person, you can find somebody local. And I love working with women in person. That is my preference. But I also love the fact that I can do online coaching with women who are basically all over the world. And in fact, I recently onboarded my first client from outside of Canada. She's in the US. So I'm pretty excited about that too. Yeah.
I think it's always important to say, I do believe that having that local practitioner makes a difference though as well, because you can direct to find the best food in that area, and that connection is so key. And I think this is testament to the program, that we are a food only program. It's a nutrition plan that, because it's so successful, it's spread across the world, and there's no products associated with it. It is just, let's teach people to be self-sufficient, know what they need to nourish their bodies with, and get that balance back. And it's practitioner to practitioner, client to client, because we actually have so much connection in the world. I think that's really important to probably kind of just maybe finish on, that we are in a very strange world, really. If you listen to too much of the news, you can sort of say we have all these differences. And actually, we really don't. We just want, so many people want the best for each other. We just want to feel well. We want to enjoy time with our family and our friends and be self sufficient.
When you were talking, it just reminded me of a question that you've often asked other people and about foods that are on your plan. And because I was thinking about how personalized the plan is, and it's just food and everybody gets different food. And I even have a binder that I share with people when they're asking about different plans of several different clients. And I'm always amazed at how each meal plan is so unique. And some people get certain foods or eggs at a certain time, and people don't. And I was really thankful that I got eggs at breakfast. But I mean, I was such a lazy cook that I was eating eggs breakfast, lunch, or dinner, depending on what day it was, because it was so easy to do. So now I limit myself. But some of the foods and I've had so many clients say, I always ask them, what are some foods that are on your plan that you've never tried before that you really like now? And they always give me different answers. For me, it was cabbage. I was like, I don't want to eat cabbage. But then I had cabbage and beef one day, and I was like, this is like one of my favorite meals now.
It's the learning, isn't it? It's the learning and the understanding, and the being open to trying new things. Yeah.
Yeah, so I love that. And I had lamb on my plan. I actually bought a whole lamb that fall.
Well, there you go. That's dedication for you.
It's delicious. Yeah.
Yeah, cool. So, if there is one thing that you would say to somebody who is thinking of doing metabolic balance, so suppose bear in mind, you know, even where you were coming from, where you saw it, but you didn't actually take the plunge, what would you actually say to them?
Well, like I said, not everybody can do it, but everybody who can do it, I think, should do it. And I think talking to people who have gone through metabolic balance is key because you can ask them specific questions that are your concerns. Talk to different people, find somebody who's been in the situation that you're in or something close. Check out a couple of different practitioners. Yeah, I would say it's totally worth the investment. 100%.
So thank you, Kari. It's been such a pleasure to talk to you today. And it's so lovely to hear how things have gone for you and your experience, and also how many people you're now helping to transform their health. It's so important for more women to know about metabolic balance as well as men. You know, we all need to know how to reset ourselves with great nutrition. So thank you. And if anybody would like to learn more about metabolic balance, do check out the website. So just go to metabolic-balance.com wherever you are, and you'll be directed to your local region for metabolic balance, and you'll be able to find your local practitioner. So thank you again, Kari.
Thank you for having me, Cherry. Appreciate it.
Yeah, big love to everybody, and we will catch you again next time.